Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel for another tutorial. Today I'll be showing you how to make one of my most popular items, the crocheted bunny ear beanie. This is a super simple project and I've described every single aspect of it so a brand new beginner can make it if they've never made anything else. I'll be going through each stitch, each step, and showing you how to size this beanie directly to your own head. Please like if this helps you and subscribe. Good luck! Today, you'll be using 2 different color medium weight yarns, a 5.5 millimeter hook, as well as some accessory tools such as a stitch marker, a darning needle, some scissors, and a tape measure. If you don't have a stitch marker, I would recommend using a bobby pin. It'll function the exact same way and pretty much everyone has one. Everything else you can grab at your local craft store or even a Walmart if you just need to run in and grab it. Pause and take screenshots of the written directions if you see fit. Each step will be listed and spoken about in the video, but I know it does help some people to be able to reference an image to go along with what they're making as they're making it. If anything that I've written here confuses you, especially if you're new to crocheting, please just watch the video as you're reading through it, so that way you're getting the gist of what I'm doing with my hands as you're reading the directions as well. In this clip, I'll show you how to take your own measurements so you can adjust the hat to fit your own head. Using your tape measure, you need to start by locating the very top point of your head. Don't go too far back and don't go too far forward as well. You want to try and line it up where just about the middle of it reaches. You'll then find where the bridge of your nose is, and whatever that length is how tall you want your hat to be. You want it down to the bridge because you need to flip your beanie up to have that little ridge part afterwards. The second part is easy. Wrap the tape measure around your head just above your brow bone, and that's how wide you'll need your hat to be before we sew it all together. Welcome to part 1, which is where you'll make the beanie itself. Take your accent color, and we're going to begin by making a slip knot. If you've never made a slip knot before, you're simply going to wrap it around your fingers and pull it taut. I'll show you how to do this slower so you can recreate it. Try and line it up using your left hand to hold the end and your right hand to build this little rectangle shape in the middle. I use my thumb and my 4 fingers to do this, but do it on the opposite side like so, and twist it over. After you've done that, use your pointer and thumb to pull the piece you're holding with your left hand straight through. That's how you make a slip knot. Super, super easy. You'll then be taking your hook and inserting it inside of the slip knot. Using your left hand to pull that little tail end taut, pull it so that way it looks like mine does here. You need to learn how best to hold the yarn. It's more attuned to your own body, so do it feels natural. Next, we'll start chaining. This is where you simply wrap the yarn over your hook like so, and then pull it through the slip knot. So pull over once, pull it through, pull over again, pull it through, and you'll just keep doing this until you reach the length of the height of your head. If you remember, that's about where the top of your head is to the bridge of your nose. That's how many chains you want to do. I'm doing a custom order with this hat, so instead of just chaining the 7-ish inches that my head was, I'm doing a little bit more than that to fit this order. If you're going to be following along with me directly, I end up doing 45 chains, but that's for a larger head size. Most likely, depending on if you're making this for a child or a grown adult, you'll have anywhere between 25 and 45 chains. The next step will be to skip the last stitch you just made and begin half double crocheting into the rest of the stitches in that chain. A half double crochet is very simple and I'll show you exactly how to do it, but make sure you're skipping that chain that I'm pointing to and going into the one after it. So you'll see a hole like this. To make a half double crochet, you are going to start by yarning over the way I'm doing it here and then inserting it into the stitch you're going for. You'll yarn over again and pull it through that stitch, and then once you have 3 loops on your hook, you'll yarn over once more and pull through all 3 of them. This is the foundation of your hat, so I will show you again so you can really get the hang of doing them. After you make a half double crochet, it'll look like this one. There will be 2 of these little loops on the top, and it'll have this thick body afterward. To show you once more, you will yarn over, find your next hole, and insert it into there. Make sure you're not going into the same one more than once. And then once you've inserted into this hole, you will yarn over again, pull it back through the hole, and then once again you'll have 3 loops on your stitch, which you'll yarn over and pull through all 3 of them. With 2 done, it's a little bit easier to see the pattern that they create with those 2 little braid-like looking loops on the tops. This is where I recommend using a bobby pin or a stitch marker so you don't lose the last half double crochet in your row. Looking at those 2 loops on the top, you want to feed whatever you're using through both of them, and then if you're using a stitch marker, clip it shut so you can go back to it later. From here, you are just going to continue to do your half double crochets all the way through this row down until you have 5 stitches left. Once there's only 5 of those little chain stitches left in your row, I will show you how to take care of them. Once you've made it to the end of this row, it should look a little something like mine. Our next step will be to slip stitch into each one of these 5 remaining chain stitches. Slip stitch is super easy. You'll insert your hook and yarn over to pull through. After you've pulled through the stitch you went into, gently pull it through the other loop left on the hook without yarning over it all. Show you again, you will insert into the next stitch, yarn over and pull it through, and then without yarning over, pull it through right once more. You will do this for these last 5 stitches, so that way once we're done with the hat, it has a flatter base to cinch it off at, but for now just do these 5 stitches, and afterwards you will chain 1 extra. Doing this creates a significant drop in height from the half double crochet to slip stitches, which is exactly what we want for later on in the project. The next step will be to turn your work over and then slip stitch into those last 5 stitches we did. Since you ended on a chain stitch in the last row, it gives you the room to be able to turn your work over and start inserting directly into those slip stitches we made before. If you'll notice those little bumps, that's the loops that we'll be going into. Slip stitch the exact way we did the last time, inserting in, yarning over, and pulling through both of the loops. Like I said, you'll only need to do this 5 times, just because later in the project it'll make it easier for us to finish off the hat. Just to reiterate, pull on these loops very gently. You don't want to pull too tight or you won't be able to reinsert your hook into them. Your next step will be going back to half double crocheting, this time only doing so into the back loops of each stitch. If you remember earlier, I showed you how on top of each half double crochet, there's these 2 loops. Come up with the little ribbed effect for the beanie, we need to be inserting only into the back parts of each of these stitches, rather than this front hole here like you would normally do. To go into the back loop only, turn your work so you see those top loops here, and pull only on the back part of it. Again, for half double crochet, you'll yarn over, insert your hook into the loop you want to go into, yarn over again, and then once you have 3 loops, yarn over through all 3 of them. Be continuing to do this exact same stitch all the way until the very end of this row where we put the stitch marker, and I'll meet you there. I do just want to show you one more time how to find the back loop though. Again, you don't want to insert into that hole here, you want to make sure you're grabbing that loop on the very top. So again, right into the back, and I will see you at the end of this row. Once you reach the stitch marker again, you want to make sure that you're going into the back loop, doing this half double crochet the same way you normally do. The reason we have the stitch marker there is so that way you don't end up losing the stitch itself. Once you've pulled through all the way, it'll look a little something like this, and you can take your stitch marker right on out. Don't put it too far though, because we are going to be using it again so we don't lose the current stitch that we're on. Chain 1, and now you can reinsert your stitch marker here so you know which loop we did last. If you ever go to put your project down, I recommend doing this so that way you don't lose track, and once we get to the next row, I'll show you how to mark it so we don't lose our space again. The last sort of step to making this base beanie is to make sure you know where to place your stitch marker when you're starting a new row. After you've done your chain 1, you'll turn your work and begin to half double crochet into the back loops once more. I recommend just doing 3, and then I'll show you where to put your stitch marker when we're done. You should have the hang of the half double crochet by now, but obviously I'm doing it nice and slow in the video for you if you want to reference it one more time. A lot of this sort of work takes practice, but once you've done it for a while, it really will just be muscle memory and you'll be able to go extremely fast. If this first project takes you a little bit longer though, just be proud of yourself for making it in the first place. You'll get faster with time. This is our 3rd stitch here, so after we finish this half double crochet, you can remove your stitch marker like so, and I'll show you where to put it. The aim is to use the stitch marker so we don't lose track of these last stitches. So in that stitch that we made right there, you will reinsert your stitch marker like so and clasp it when you're done. Now, whenever you put your work down or when you just get to the other side and don't want to skip a stitch, it'll always be there for you. From now until the desired width that we had measured earlier, you want to continue the same pattern of half double crocheting across and then slip stitching into those 5 stitches on the one end. Do not forget to chain 1 at the end of each row and turn your work so that way you don't lose your spaces. Once you've reached the desired width, I will show you how to stitch both sides together and close up the top of your hat. Once your hat has reached the desired width, you will start to use single crochets to close up the beanie itself. I start this project by doing a chain 1 and then lining up both edges with one another. What you need to do is first take your hook and insert it into the final stitch that you just made. You don't need to yarn over or anything, simply just find this little hole here and insert your hook into it. Once you've inserted your hook, you need to start to line up the other side so that way you can begin to sew the 2 pieces together. The last half double crochet you made on that side and insert your hook into there as well. Using the same slip stitches we were using earlier, so begin by just yarning over, pulling through those 2 loops that we just went through, and the last loop that's on your hook. I'm going to zoom you all in now that you know where we're working, and I'm going to show you this one more time. Go into the next hook on the first side here and insert it straight through. Then on the back side of your piece, insert your hook into that hole as well, then yarn over and pull through those 2 loops, and then pull through the last loop remaining on your hook. You're going to continue doing this all the way until the other side, not changing anything for the 5 slip stitch area that you've been making before. The point of this is to give your hat a super strong base so that way it doesn't open or unravel. Once we get to the other side, I will show you how to close the top. Once you've reached the other end of your beanie, you can start to see that that ribbed effect really hides that stitching row extremely well. You're then going to come back to where you were and do a quick chain 1 and then leave a nice long tail before cutting your yarn. You want this to be nice and long so we can really easily close the top together. Grab a scissor and cut it about where I'm doing so, and then pull the yarn straight through with the hook. Don't do anything special, just literally pull your hook out and the yarn will come through on its own. Once you're here, you'll need to grab your darning needle so we can thread this piece of tail through the top of the hat. If you've never sewn before, I'll show you how to do this, and if you have sewn before, you're simply going to thread the needle the same way you would do it with normal string. It's actually a little bit easier in my opinion since the darning needle is so much wider. Take the end of that tail and put it straight through the end of your needle, and once you're here, you're going to begin to insert your hook through the one side and out the other side of this hat. You want to make sure you're not going through both sides at any one time, you're simply doing this all on the one. So insert your hook all the way through and make sure you pull both strands of the tail through, like so. Then go straight through the other side like this and do that until you're all the way around this part of the hat. We're doing this so that way at the end, we can pull it taut and have no hole remaining. Once you're here at the last part of this hat, pull your yarn as taut as you can and that'll cinch the top of your hat shut. Since it's still a little bit weak though, you want to make sure that you sew again across and then across once more to tie it all together. I pulled too hard and my needle came out. If this happens to you, just rethread it nice and easy and then sew 2 more stitches into the top. Again, this is because we want our beanie to be super secure and that way it'll never come undone, especially if you're washing it. At this point, you do go through both sides, unlike how we did it before, pushing it through all the way across the way I'm doing it here. Do this 1 or 2 more times and make sure you feel comfortable with how sturdy it all is holding together. Once it's as sturdy as you want it, then you can tie a knot and cut your yarn. I tie my knot using that leftover yarn from the first ever chain stitch that we made in this row, this little piece hanging out here, and I just tie the 2 together before cutting it. Once you've tied and cut your yarn, you can flip your beanie inside out and admire your finished hat. After you flip up this little bottom piece, it should fit your head perfectly, both lengthwise and widthwise. The next step in the project will be to make the ears and attach it all together. Part 2 of this video is making the bunny ears to attach to your beanie. You're going to start by grabbing your accent color yarn and making a slip knot the same way we did it at the start of the video. Since there's nothing to particularly measure here, if you want your ears to be long like the one in the design, you're going to chain 55. This is super simple, so I'm going to speed up the video and meet you at the end of the chain. Once you've made your chain of 55, you'll need to start double crocheting into these chains. To make a double crochet, it is basically the exact same as a half double crochet. You're this time just going to yarn over and enter into the hole and pull through, but instead of pulling through all 3 loops, you will yarn over and pull through 2, and then yarn over again and pull through the last 2. I'll show you guys this again nice and slow. Start by yarning over, insert it into the stitch here, and then yarn over and pull through. With 3 loops remaining, you'll now yarn over and pull through 2, then yarn over and pull through 2 more. And you're going to continue to do these double crochets all the way until the end of this row, and I will meet you back in that last chain. I'm here at the last double crochet of this row. I'm going to double crochet one more time into the stitch, and afterwards I'm going to add 2 more double crochets into the same stitch. This is what forms that little round part of the bottom and tops of the bunny ears, so you want to make sure you're not skipping this step. After you've added all 3 double crochets, you're going to turn your work so that way we start going into the backs of each of the chain stitches. You're going to double crochet the same way we were doing before, but now you're going to pull up on those little loops like I'm showing you here and inserting the double crochets into them. They're a little bit harder to see, but you'll quickly get the hang of it and you'll be able to go all the way down to the other side. Once you reach the end of this row, I will meet you there again and show you how to close it. Once you are at the last stitch, which is a bit hard to see, so I'm showing you there, you're going to again make sure there's 3 double crochets inside of it. Same as the other side, this just adds the rounded point to the end of your row. Once you're done with that, you're going to find that first double crochet that we made and insert a slip stitch into there. That is going to close off your row and get us ready to start the next one. We're going to start this off by doing a color switch back to the main color. You do this by taking the yarn of the other color you want to use and pulling it through like you were going to chain into the last loop that you just had on your hook. Pull that other piece as taut as possible and then you can cut it, but don't cut it too short. We're going to use it to weave in the end. This is a very important skill you should know for pretty much any project you'll be making in the future. Reinsert your hook into the new color that we've added on and make sure that the other 2 pieces of yarn are pulled extremely tight. You want to then grab both colors that you already have here and we're going to begin double crocheting with these 2 other colors in between your row that you have. This takes a little finessing, but make sure that you pull through with those 2 pieces of yarn on the hook and then do your double crochet as you would do normally. This will end up trapping those 2 tails in between your work. So once again, go to double crochet with those 2 other pieces in between and keep going until they're fully encapsulated. You're going to be doing this row the exact same way as the row we made prior. We'll double crochet all the way across, and then at the very point of this row, you're going to add 3 double crochets inside of it and continue to do it on the other side. When we get back to that point, I'm going to slow the video back down to show you exactly which one you need to insert your extra double crochets into, but aside from that, you're just going to keep double crocheting the way we did it the first time. Once we get here, you can see where we added the 3 crochets in the last time we did this. From these 3, choose the hole in the farthest one at the end there, and that's the hole that you'll be inserting 3 more double crochets into. Once again, this is just because we want to make sure we keep up that circle, and by adding it right here, they end up being directly in line with the point. Continue doing the same thing we did the last row, and I will once again meet you at the end. At the end of this row, you're going to slip stitch right into here, and then you're done. What you have left to do is to repeat the row that you just did once more. If you need to reference the previous section to do so, go ahead, but if not, continue double crocheting all around, and then make sure you're adding those 3 double crochets into the top and bottommost stitches. When you finish that row, leave a long tail and cut your ear, and then repeat the whole process so that way you have 2 of them. All that's left for you to do is sew your ear on the same way that I'm sewing it on here. You want to make sure that they're sewn onto the very top of the hat and that they're even to one another. Thread your darning needle the same way we did it before, and find the top of the hat and the spot that you want your ears to be lined up. First one will be easy because you don't have to make it symmetrical to anything. For the second one, you really want to make sure that you line it up properly. You can see a faint circle from where we added those slip stitches when we made the hat itself. At the very end of that circle is the spot where you want to begin to thread on your ear. This is a very simple stitch. You're simply just going through the hat, then through your ear, then through the hat again, and through your ear again. You can do this as many times as you want to make sure it's as sturdy as you want it, but there's nothing complex about the way you're doing this. Once your ear is sewed on, you're going to flip the hat inside out a little bit just so you can tie a knot with this piece of thread. To tie a knot, you can just insert like so and then pull it through. It is literally the same knot you tie. You just want to make sure it's through a little piece of yarn in the top of the hat. When you're done, you can cut your yarn and then you're finished. And with that, you have finished your bunny-eared beanie. Thank you all so much for watching, and please leave a like and subscribe if this video helped you out. If you're looking for more inspiration or to purchase anything I've made, please check out my Instagram and my Depop. But with that, I thank you again for watching, and good luck making this hat yourself. Bye-bye!